Hey everyone, welcome back to Financial Education Sucks podcast. I am your host, Grant Raskin, and today we have a good friend of mine, Realtor, here to share her story, her journey, Christy Manetta. Christy, thank you for being here today. I really appreciate your time. So
Thank you,
welcome,
Grant.
welcome on the big show here.
That's right. I feel like right after this, I'm going to be giving autographs. So let's make sure this isn't too long.
Yeah,
I'll
no,
probably have like a line of people waiting for me.
listen, I mean, I wish I had them line up at my door to give autographs to. But you're like it's professional, right? I mean, I do know I'm honored. You do also run your own podcast, killing it in real estate. So
Thank
you
you.
got your professional setup there. I know
I sure do.
a microphone. I haven't hooked mine up yet, but it's sitting down here somewhere. We're gonna get to it one day. Zach, if you're listening to this, I need you to help me hook this thing up. But no, I really appreciate you coming on because obviously we've worked together for years. We've known each other a long time. You've definitely been on a journey, and I know that your work is as a realtor, right? You're with KW, you're Keller
Yes.
Williams, out of Doylestown and New Hope offices.
Yeah.
But when we were talking about today, you were like, "Hey, I really want to kind of share my journey and your story, and one that I know very well. But you've been through a lot." And I
I've
think,
seen a few things.
yeah, yeah. So, um, obviously, we'll get into those things. 'Cause I think what you're trying to do now, and the focus of today is, yes, I do. I am a realtor. I do work in the industry. But you've been on this journey, and you're looking to help other people to
Yes,
kind
absolutely.
of, get through what you've been through, and obviously, like you said, we'll share that story today. So I like to always ask people, like, give me your little bit of background. Like, where'd you grow up? Where are
Sure.
you from? You know, how'd you
Well,
make your way down to these parts?
that's a great question. And it's like it's very multi-layered, right? Like we all come from such different backgrounds. And if we want to take it way back, I was born in Ann Arbor, Michigan. In And then we made our way here to Pennsylvania. But I pretty much grew up in Pennsylvania and really thought when I was a teenager, I thought my entire life was meant to be a mom. Now, I will tell you, my entire life is meant to be a mom. But I didn't know that there would be all these other things added to it. And I think even in my 20s, I didn't realize what was ahead for me.
Yeah,
Um, I got my college degree in elementary education. I did a little bit of teaching. And then I really was very fortunate enough to stay home with my kids for almost 8 years. I mean, that I wouldn't trade that for the world to have that time with
that's
my
awesome.
kids to be
And
able
you
to
have how
raise
many
them.
kids? I mean, I
I've
know
got
our viewers
3.
know that.
Yeah, I've got 3, and they're pretty much all adults now and 1
3.
grandchild, and, here we
No,
are.
recently became a grandma, so
I sure did.
congratulations, mazel tov, as we say.
Thank you, much appreciated. So, at the time, I thought, "Oh, I'll be a teacher, I'll raise my kids," and all of that, and, I did once my kids were a little bit older, I did go back into education, and I helped to run a nonprofit preschool,
Yep.
which I think really started my love for giving back and being a part of the community, and that was a really special time. It allowed me still to be with my kids and to provide these great preschool services through a nonprofit, and then our journey brought us back to PA. So that was in New Jersey for a little bit.
Right, I remember. Yeah.
Journey brought us back to PA, and I felt like maybe it was time for me to step away from the kid game, you know,
You're getting a little bit
raised
older.
my yeah, raised my kids, saw a lot of other kids through preschool and school, and was fortunate enough to have some neighbors that had a home inspection company. And I thought, sure, why not? Why not check out a new industry? And I helped them with marketing and some of their testing services and grew to really fall in love with the real estate industry.
That's awesome.
When their company grew and they moved, that kind of felt like the perfect time to get my real estate license. Mix that background of education and my newly found love for home inspections and get my real estate license. And that was in 2018.
That's awesome. Yeah, and not to interrupt, but I think one of the things that we've talked about just over the years, right? It's education. That's one of the biggest
Yes.
things that we try to push, even at MGR Financial at my firm, is you got to educate the client, right? And so many people out there are financial advisors, and there's so many realtors, but what can you do as an individual to make that experience where the client leaves going, wow, I learned something, right? Where I can now make a difference in
Yeah.
sharing the knowledge that I was taught with somebody else. I think it's really big. And I know that you've always talked about that when I've
Mhm.
heard you speak in different group settings of, hey, listen, I get it, right? Like you said,
Yeah.
my background started at the youngest and grew with them, you know, through the work you've done in elementary ed. So yeah, we definitely share that same passion. So
Yeah.
I see where you're going with that. But
And I can say, if I can, tell our listeners this too, that's a lot of why I think you and I have been aligned so well along these last couple of years, because we both believe in that educational aspect. I
yeah.
know prior to you, when I would run into other financial advisors, they were speaking at this level, and I was honestly at the preschool level of financial education.
I mean, listen, that's why, listen, financial education sucks, right? Like that's what we're
Yeah.
trying to do is just bring
Unless you have a good
it home.
teacher.
Yeah. Hey, listen,
Yes.
willing to teach anyone.
Yes.
But
Well,
no,
thank you. Thank you for allowing me to learn from you. I appreciate it.
no, and anytime, anytime. So, um, so kind of just kind of coming back. So decided, hey, let's pair up my educational background, home inspection, love of real estate,
Mhm.
and kind of brought you to where you are now. And not to jump ahead, but I think we all, you know, should share. Big congratulations, 2025 president-elect
Thank
for
you.
Bucks County Association of Realtors.
Thank you.
And I know you have a lot of involvement as well on the state level too with Pennsylvania Association of Realtors. So can you touch on that for a minute before
Sure.
we get back to
Yeah,
your
sure.
journey here?
Absolutely. That's, interestingly enough, when I was in the home inspection business, part of the way that I grew our network with the home inspection company was to create relationship with other realtors.
Yeah,
And one of the ways to do that was to get involved with the local association, Bucks County Association of Realtors, as well as the state association, Pennsylvania Association of Realtors. And once that affiliate relationship dissolved and I became a realtor and I became a realtor member of the associations, I really saw a lot of benefit in those. And I discovered this love for not just learning, but also leadership. And those associations allowed me the opportunity to do that. I've helped to chair a couple committees. I've been a part of some great committees that have done amazing work in the community, amazing work in the legislative arena of our
nice.
industry, which is again like a path I never realized was something for me. I say all the time, like I flash back to my junior high years. And if you put any type of civics or government in front of me, I was that kid with her head on the desk, not
Going back to
listening.
sleep.
Yeah. Yes. And here I am now. I've found this piece to the real estate industry that I really love of being involved with legislation and helping to change different laws and helping our community and our clients better.
No, that's awesome. Um, and I appreciate touching on that, right? So, you know, I know I kind of went a little bit off there, just kind of wanted to give you some
What
recognition.
happens in life?
But I really want to get back to like your story because I know that when we had talked, you're like, hey, listen, I really want to take this on a different path today. Um, so where do you think the change? I mean, I think I know, but for our listeners out there, you're in the real estate industry, life's moving forward, you're doing what you're doing, and then
Life happens,
life
right?
happens, right?
So I think it's important to know that when I got my license to be a realtor, I I had aspirations of being a bit more independent,
Okay.
discovering some wealth that was mine, and creating a business and profession that was mine. And so I was in in the last quarter of 2021, just about to wrap up my best year as a realtor. And I was really proud of that because I had grown my business pretty organically. I had also grown it over COVID, which was,
A nightmare.
I thought, a pretty big deal. I was very happy about that. And then in October of 2021, a member of my family had a life altering thankfully not life-ending, but a life-altering medical event, and it caused my entire business to stop.
Yeah.
Literally at 6:30 on a Friday morning, everything stopped. Everything in my life, professionally, personally, all of that. And there was a large portion of the next week or so when I sat with that family member in the ICU and I sat with my kids, and we didn't know what was ahead. You know, we didn't know what was on the other side, what the other side looked like. And I remember sitting there thinking, I felt so ill-equipped for that moment, right? I prided myself on being educated and learning about all these things, and yet this one piece of life I had never learned anything about. And honestly, who can learn anything about a life-altering event like that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so the only way that I could really, truly, honestly get from day to day was to promise myself if I could get through that moment and help that family member get through that moment, I would find a way to help others. In if it was similar moments or some life-altering moments, I would find a way to help others. And so the next 3 months looked like me going to the hospital every single day, helping this person get through ICU, helping this person get through step down units, helping this person get through rehab, and then bringing the person home and becoming a 24-hour caregiver. And I mean, again, talk about not being prepared. I was,
Yeah, I mean, shockwaves.
yes,
Yeah.
ask me to sell you a house, ask me to maybe go and chat on the Hill to some legislators, you got it, no problem. But to care for a person 24 hours a day was that wasn't my child, was really, really difficult and trying. And so I actually saw my business go through a little bit of some differences. I was able to take on a salaried position at my brokerage at that point, and that was very helpful. And I'm very grateful for that. Once we were able to get through that point, and I was able to get my family members some help outside of my house,
Sure.
I was able to go back to work. And really, in May of 24 was the first time I went back to just sales. And so that feels
That's awesome.
really exciting and
You're back in the thick
terrifying.
of it. You're like, "Oh, right, I remember this."
Yeah, right. Oh, right. This is what it's like to I go from, helping someone get through life 24 hours a day to helping my clients get through life 24 hours a
Yeah,
day.
right?
Um, but I think what I learned so much in that time. And one of the things I learned that was so impactful is I've created this incredible network of people in this business that are great friends and great support, and I never had to turn far to find support. And I can tell you that's why I'm sitting here today is because there were a lot of people that got me through that moment. And I think too, one of the things that I learned was that this industry is so full of opportunity. It's full of opportunity to help clients, to help community, and also to help the realtor find the path that's best for them.
Sure.
And it's great and exciting to be back into sales while also pursuing this other piece of leadership with the associations.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I know I watched you go through it. It was a crazy time.
I am sure that I sat at your table at some point and I at least cried one time.
I mean,
Probably more.
I probably take the over. It'll be
Yes.
one, but
It's
that's
a safe
okay,
bet.
right? Like, that's okay. Um, no, but look, I think that you're someone who goes through an event like that, and it's gonna shape your life one way or the other, right? And I know personally just watching you go through it, like, it was a dogfight. Um,
Yes.
and then you sort of come out of it, and it's like a rebirth for you, right? Like, it's like, "Okay, now I need
Yeah.
to restart everything that I just put on hold for" what, you say 3 years, basically? Um,
Yeah, it was just about 3 years. Yeah, with some salaried working in between there, but, to get back to sales and to rebuild that,
it's tough.
it's quite a process. Yeah, especially in this market. It's a process.
Yeah, so it's like, how did you Was it more or less you looking inside of yourself and saying, hey, I got to pull myself through this? Or folks along the way, like you said, you had a phenomenal support group of friends that were there to help you. But I guess my question to you is like, where do you want to see this grow? Like, are you looking to work with other women that kind of been through stuff? Is it families you would love to support? Like, what's your future or what's your vision for like what you can do with your experience to help others?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question, and I don't think that I've totally refined that yet,
Yeah,
but I think one of the aspects of being a realtor that it allows me is that I see this as me helping guide people through life changes, right? Life happens, like I said, in the blink of an eye. Sometimes life happens and your family grows and you need to move, and I love guiding people through that journey. But then sometimes life happens, whether it's a divorce or a death or a life-altering medical event. You have to bring in other family, things like that. And very often at the center of that change is housing.
yeah,
And it can look like your house needs to be bigger, your house needs to be smaller, your house needs to be in another state. The change in housing, whether it's something that you are looking forward to or something that happens that causes you to need that change, it's very emotional.
sure.
And in my life and in a lot of my clients' lives, it feels like an honor to be a part of that emotional component of real estate. And so, regardless of where I take this, I think that will be the consistent thing is guiding people through life changes along the way and just helping them find the next thing for them.
Yeah, because I think if I recall, you basically remodeled your whole home.
I did. And so there was a very emotional component to that as well. When you purchase a home with your young family, you have this vision of what your home and your years in that home are going to look like.
Yeah,
And then when something happens, and I have to say, my dad and my brother were a huge they were the piece to that. They came to me and they said, "This is what's going to have to happen with your home, and this is what we're going to do." And I recognize the gravity and the importance of that and the true generosity of that, of them coming in and do I didn't have to do a piece of that. And for them to do that for me and my family was I to this day, it's still a priceless moment. But so to see your home and family members go through physical changes that weren't a part of the plan,
right.
it's hard. It's hard. And then when the next component of then finding another space for that family member to live and receive the care that they need, and then to have to sell that home, there's another layer of emotion to that because even though you know that's what has to happen and
Right.
that's what is the best thing for everyone, it's still terribly emotional. There's a lot of grief in that process.
Sure.
And I think too, like to lighten the load a little bit, I gotta say, as a realtor selling a house, your own personal do not recommend.
Yeah. No.
I mean, I did it, but I I definitely was in a coma for months on end, just like
Listen.
an emotional component that was not something I ever thought I would do. It was tough.
No, listen. I think with real estate, right? Like so many people just you know, oh, we're just buying a home or this or that, but that emotional journey
Yeah.
is insane.
Yeah.
I've been through it a few times. You've been through it with me,
Yeah.
um, right? So I know what it's like um, of having to leave a big home and condense down and
Right.
kind of start fresh.
Yeah.
Um, but I keep going back to what you said, about your friends being there, right, and your support group. And I think it's really important. But then, as a professional, as either a realtor or a financial advisor like myself, when you have that connection with a client
Mm.
and you provide to them something, either on that emotional level or something educational they can take with them, you've built and solidified that relationship for a long time. And that's one of the really important things that we always say here, right? It's
Yeah.
relationships, it's education. That's what it's about. Um, and when you can tell your story and people understand your story, uh,
Mhm.
it's really important. Listen, I mean, not completely off topic, but I had a client here the other day who's dealing with a mother of theirs who, is going through some Alzheimer's right now and
Yeah.
dementia and fighting it. And
Right.
look, I went through it with my grandfather, so I get it, and you can relate,
Yeah.
right? And that's when I think that really starts to build. Um, but going on to sort of brighter and happier topics,
Yeah.
and
Can I say one thing before I forget? Because this
absolutely,
grandmother brain forgets things pretty quickly. I
yeah.
think I think that's what we're so lucky to do in our professions is they tell us all the time, bring value, add value.
Sure.
And I think we do that really well, and I think that value doesn't always look like a piece of paper telling them the latest news or, the latest industry topics. I think sometimes that value is really seriously sitting with someone and saying, "How can I best help you with this?" I've got some clients that I'm working with right now that they're excited to move, but it's an emotional move. And it's been my goal to make it as easy as possible, even if that means I have to do some things that other realtors might not do, but just providing that value, providing that care, and providing that guidance to make it as easy as possible because they're the ones that are going through all of the emotional pieces of it. And if there's anything that, we can do as professionals to lighten that load, I think that that's a true value add.
Yeah, I think it's also about how you carry yourself, and that, right? We can all sit here and say it.
Mhm.
I will personally say that, Christy, you deliver it as well. It's
Thank you.
not just something you say, right? It's like I tell people all the time, we have these groups we meet with, and we
Mhm.
offer great service. Well, great, good. I hope everybody gets great service,
Yeah.
right? But how do you take it to that next level? And I think that with the journey you've been on, and there's so much more that is underneath the base layer that you provide.
Yeah. Yeah.
When people start to really learn, um, and that connections are made, like that's where you can really move
Yeah.
mountains, as they say, right?
Agreed.
I think it's people like yourself who experience things, and then you look around and you're like, holy shit, here I am with no
Yeah.
knowledge of how to move forward,
Yeah.
right? Hey, I just gotta, again, keep pushing, keep moving forward. You bring those experiences back into the career life, our careers, right?
Mhm.
You'll, like I just said, you'll be able to move those mountains. So I
Yeah.
I give you a lot of credit. Listen, I
Thank you.
watched the journey. I've seen it.
Thank
I
you.
think you've done an awesome job. Excited to call you a friend, a real,
Thank you.
colleague, a client, of whatever other million
All
terms.
of it. All of
Yeah.
it. Thank you for being a part of the journey. I
No,
I really
listen,
appreciate it.
it's been great. And I like everyone to know, Christy is phenomenal at her work and her career. And if you guys ever need anything or could use her services, do not hesitate to reach out because
Thank you.
she really goes above and beyond. Um, Christy, before we wrap up here today,
Yes.
anything else you'd like our audience to know, to share? Like you said earlier, you're getting grandma brain a little bit. So I just kind of want to offer it one more time to you before we
Well,
wrap it up.
so, all right. So I'm going to do two things. If you're a realtor listening to this, please do get involved with your local association and your state association. It is, I mean, if you've got questions about why those associations are important and the value that they bring to us, talk about value add. I would encourage them to reach out to me. I would love to talk about that.
Awesome.
And the other thing that is absolutely not professional, industry related at all, I can tell you, being a grandmother is the best thing in the world.
Because you get to give them back at the end of the day.
I know. Everybody told me, we had this little surprise in our family, and I was like, "Oh my gosh," you know.
I was
I
one of the
can't
first
bel
to know. So I was right here in the
I
office.
can't believe this is happening, and everyone said along the way, "Relax, you're gonna love it." And I can tell you, I have relaxed and I love it.
That's awesome. Well,
It's the greatest.
as you know, I wish you nothing but the best and
Thank
continued
you.
success.
Thank you.
For our listeners out there, once again, um, not only do I thank you for tuning in today and listening to Financial Education Sucks podcast, follow us, tweet us, do all those fun social
Do
media,
all the things.
all
Press
those
all the buttons.
small. But guys, listen, Christy also runs a phenomenal podcast herself. It is called Killing It in Real Estate.
Yep.
Check her podcast out. Again, thank you to everyone. Christy, thank you for being on today.
Thank you, Grant. I appreciate it very much.
And I hope everybody has an awesome day.
Thank you.
All right, enjoy.